Okie dokie. We are back for Roundtable Dolphins, episode number 25. I am once again joined by Billy, and Buddy is back. We're going to talk all about Dolphins football, but I'm going to start with the way I've been starting these lately. If you guys like what you hear, please do us a big favor, like, subscribe, share the video to all your friends that are Dolphins fans or even Dolphins haters. Tell them to comment. I will comment back. And in the description of this video will be the official Roundtable Dolphins site where you can go read news analysis, where this podcast lives, and all kinds of other things. There's community posts that kind of acts like Twitter in a way. You can go and talk on, like, and do all that stuff, do all the social media stuff, please. It gets us more exposure. And honestly, we like talking football, so we'll talk back. But now that that's out of the way, let's get right into it. Training camp dates have officially been set for majority of the league. Everybody's gotten their dates. It's going to be very exciting. It's all towards the end of July. So for the Dolphins, July 21st is when the rookies will report in. And then on July 24th, just a few days later, is when the veterans will report as well. Additionally, the Dolphins will be hosting and they will be traveling to Virginia to take on the Washington Commanders in preseason, and they will be engaging in a joint practice on August 12th. Also on August 20th, the Dolphins will host the New York Giants for their joint practice and also for their preseason game as well. Joint practices are usually a lot of fun, and I know people are kind of split on this, but there's usually fights. I don't like the fights. I think it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. It's just, all these football players are back, playing football, and they need to get all their energy out. And then, things happen. Again, I worry for the players because it's like if something happens and you get injured and you can't play because of a stupid fight in practice, that's ridiculous. And, we'll point to Geno Smith getting his jaw broken and not being able to play, which that wasn't necessarily a joint practice situation. It was just a ridiculous situation that should have not happened. My point being, I don't like when these fights occur just for that simple reason. Like, of all the times to get injured and not be able to play, don't let it happen during a joint practice. You know what I mean? For a ridiculous thing such as a fight is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, but training camp is nearly here. I told everybody to pick a camp battle, what they're most excited to see, or even most concerning. What is the most concerning for you guys? So I'll start. It may be shared, I don't know, but I'll kick things off here. I'm honestly really, it's a concern as much as it's also exciting, and that's going to be the offensive line. I've known this team for over 30 years of my life. The offensive line has always been a sticking point, and it's been just like that since like 2016 was like the last time the offensive line was one of the best units. They did okay last season, but a major component of that and this line is Austin Jackson's health. We've talked about this on the pod before. Austin Jackson has played in 14 games in the last two seasons. 16 he played in 2023. It's not good enough, and he was brought back on a restructured deal that I believe is less money because of that for 1 year, and it's a contract year for him. Whether or not the Dolphins bring him back or he goes elsewhere, he needs to prove that he can still be a viable tackle in the NFL. He is a great tackle when he's on the field. He's one of the best, but he's just not on the field that often. So as it looks right now, you got left tackle Patrick Paul. You got Caden Proctor potentially in that left guard position. You got Aaron Brewer in the center. You got Jonas Savanea in the right side, right guard. And then you have Austin Jackson in the left tackle position. The reason why this is one of the most concerning and most exciting is because I really don't know how these five are going to shake out. If Austin Jackson is not healthy, if he cannot play, this will leave Proctor probably to go to that right side, and then they're going to have to put Jonas Savanea back on the left guard position, and he was the worst rated guard in the NFL in 2025 at that left guard position. So there's a lot. I wrote a piece about this, but like the offensive line kind of like hinges on the health of Jackson, because if he's not healthy and he cannot play a full season, that line is going to go through a jumble that nobody wants to see, including myself. Like I can't. The hope is for the Dolphins and the team is Jackson is healthy, so Jonas Avenea can stay in that right guard position because that is his natural position. That's what he played in college. And from what Aaron Brewer has talked about, what Patrick Ball have talked about, they see strides from him already in year 2. And again, as we've talked about, we'll continue to say, nothing matters until those pads come on. But still, if you're seeing that stride and that improvement, that's already a good sign through OTAs and minicamp. Jonah knows that he did not play well. He said that, publicly. But it's just concerning because if he cannot play on the right guard position and he has to go back to the left, then it's all kind of just not in a good spot. Obviously, there's undrafted free agents and there's free agents they can go look at. But the idea is to have a very solid offensive line for the run game, which also we've talked about, and especially to protect Malik Willis.
Yeah, that line is going to be so important this year more than any, I think. And across the league, obviously, it's such a big issue that we're seeing nowadays where like quarterbacks just can't get the best out of themselves because of this line. And it wouldn't be fair for Malik Willis year 1 with the Dolphins to kind of have this looming over him. So I'm with you on that. I didn't pick that. I actually picked the receiver situation.
We'll get into that.
Just because, just because like Waddle and Hill are no longer in the building, and those are 2 ginormous pairs of shoes to fill, literally and figuratively. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, I'm really curious to see if Tutu Atwell can be the guy for them, if he's going to bring that knowledge over from the Rams and kind of, show up and out for them and maybe rally the rest of the younger rookies around him. That's just going to be the thing that I'm keeping my eye on, because I really don't know. I think that's the most wide open thing of like, there's room for everyone to become wide receiver 1. Like, they just have to show up and out over the training camp. And I think that's going to be the most exciting thing to watch, particularly just because you've had 2 star receivers and now there's quite literally no one. Well, there's everyone. It's all to play for. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on.
Yeah. On that note, Tutu Atwell, but covering the Rams and knowing Tutu Atwell, I don't have a lot of faith in Tutu Atwell in the sense that like, he's a veteran. And he's going to be a veteran voice, and that's going to be great. But in terms of him becoming a wide receiver 1, I don't really see that happening. I could be way wrong because he hasn't really been given a fair chance, so to speak. But I think Jalen Tolbert more than anybody, because Jalen Tolbert has had that success with the Cowboys, and obviously he fell down the depth chart because of CeeDee Lamb and then George Pickens. Like, you're not going to get playing time with those guys tearing up the field. Like, or not playing time. You're not going to get that many looks because they're so dependable. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you completely on that. The wide receiver room is a mess, and it's going to lead into a topic that we'll bring up a little bit later. But it's just unknown. Nobody knows what these receivers are going to be. Like, Taj Washington is back. Malik Washington's back. He's been doing really well with Malik Willis, but also tight end Greg Dulcich has been the favorite target. And for a reason, is because when you have an inexperienced quarterback, they tend to lean on their tight ends, because tight ends are those like quick over the middle throws that you don't have to really prepare for. And then especially with Greg Dulcich, he's a yards after the carry type of player as well. Like, he can churn his legs and get those yardage. So of course Malik Willis is going to favor that over anybody else because he hasn't built that chemistry. And it's been a topic of conversation through OTAs and through minicamp that it's not quite there. It's not time to panic, but you're going into training camp and you still don't know when that's going to click for everybody, if it's going to come together in a sizable way. And if it doesn't, you have to look at that roster and you have to look at the available free agents and go and get somebody, in my opinion.
I don't really know why they haven't done that yet. I mean, I guess they obviously, like, Tutu Atwell is not the answer to all the problems, but like, I just don't know why they haven't really addressed that just yet. I do wonder, because we're going to get to it about, later on, if that's what they're waiting and holding out for. But yeah, that's where my head is at.
Yeah, the wide receiver position is certainly an intriguing one. Obviously, like with Tutu being there, all the other guys, there's just a lot of uncertainty there. But one that I went with, it might not be like a position battle that we're focused on, but I think this guy can make it one. And I think it's the linebacker position between maybe Tyrell Dodson and Jacob Rodriguez. I mean, they did sign Tyrell Dodson. He is more of a veteran. He is projected to be beside Jordan Brooks right there, but I think Rodriguez can make it a competition just because of his skill set, and he's already making some noise. He already made some noise during OTAs. So I think this is a guy who could make even more noise in training camp with the pads on and whatnot. This guy's a tough physical linebacker as well. So, I mean, he may not be a starter week 1, but I think he'll certainly give these veterans a run for their money, because this guy proved to be one of the best linebackers in college. Didn't play in the SEC, which is arguably one of the best, conferences in college football, but he played in the Big 12. He was active. This dude was flying all over the place. And I think, like I said it before, when we talked about the draft, I think that was their best draft pickup. And eventually I think he could be, probably in a short amount of time, because of the opportunity he's going to get, one of their best defensive players as well. So I think maybe that's not something that will be maybe looked upon like immediately going into training camp, but I think he could certainly make it into a battle and certainly give these guys a run for their money for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love when a guy just completely breaks out in an unexpected way.
No, definitely. I think that's an important one. It's something that we've talked about, not in depth on the pod, but we have brought this up. And, it's interesting because Tyrell Dodson was asked point blank, like, are you worried? Because they did bring in Jacob Rodriguez, and they brought in Kyle Lewis as well. But Kyle Lewis is more of, he's going to be that sub package guy. He's going to be that linebacker, safety hybrid type of player, similar to Kyle Hamilton with the Ravens. But no, I think that's going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see that too. Like, is there a chance that Jacob Rodriguez is going to play himself into a more substantial position at some point during the season? And don't get me wrong, Tyrell Dodson is great. He was great last season, and him and Jordan Brooks together are fantastic. So that's I'm excited. Let's see what happens. And, the thing with Jacob Rodriguez is he's a turnover machine. That dude can cause turnovers left and right. He already did it in OTAs already, at minicamp. They call it, the peanut punch, and he's excelled at it. I think he had 7 forced fumbles in 2025. The dude won every award except for the Heisman Trophy. So yeah, that's going to be a good one too. And I know we're kind of split on, is it going to be the defense that's going to be the shining spot of the offense? I think for that reason alone, you got to look at the defense, but secondary is, that was my second, but like, I just wanted to bring up the offensive line more so because it's just more of a excitement for me than the secondary. Secondary, I think, we'll get into that part. It's going to come next, but
I think there's battles everywhere, right? And that's why it's just exciting.
No, that's the thing. Is like, this is a brand new roster for the most part. I know it's not, and I know we can't say that, but like, other than linebacker, other than your defensive line, quarterback and running back, every other position is kind of a battle. Every other position has an infusion of young talent, of veterans, and we're all going to see what happens come training camp, which is less than a month away now. But still on the subject of the offensive line, Mr. Aaron Brewer was on Drive Time with Travis Wingfield, which is the official Dolphins podcast. Had a whole lot to say. It was really, I love listening to him talk because he's just so like adamant and he's so passionate about his game and about the game of football. And he set some lofty goals for himself and the offensive line. He was up for Protector of the Year in 2025. There's a lot of people that believe he should have won. I personally am one of those people, just because like that dude changed the way the Dolphins offense operated, even in a year that was a down year for them. I mean, Devon Achane, look at what he was able to do. And that's because Aaron Brewer was first contact, pushing the pile, was able to hit those tight ends, hit those linebackers, and finish his blocking assignments in a way that nobody else was really doing. He was the highest rated center on Pro Football Focus as well, beating everybody else out. So anyway, the point being, he was a second team All-Pro, which is also very weird. So he set his goals as he wants to be a first team All-Pro. He wants to win Protector of the Year, but he also wants another Dolphins offensive lineman to be nominated for the award. That would be huge because I know it's a new award, but I mean, you have 2 people from the same team. If that were the case, then that means the Dolphins offensive line is probably one of the better units in the league. And they need to be that for exactly what you said, Billy. More than anybody else, because you need to protect Malik Willis and need to make sure that this run game is as potent as it can possibly be, especially with the concerns in the wide receiver room. As much as the hope is that the Dolphins are not just a run first team, a run only team, because that's going to make them one dimensional. And it's going to be similar to what happened when Tua Tagovailoa was under center. When he stopped being able to throw the ball, all they could do was run the ball. So you don't want to be that again. But because of the possibility that may happen again, you want to make sure that run game is as best as it possibly can be, and you need a good offensive line. And if Aaron Brewer can still play at the level he's playing at, as well as Patrick Paul, then hopefully the other pieces there will be good. Caden Proctor is huge. He's a massive human being, and he's going to be an oversized left guard. So if you have Patrick Paul on the left and you have Caden Proctor on the left, you can push that pile all day long and get those lanes open. But regardless, huge goals. We'll see what happens. But Aaron Brewer believes that they can be a really good unit in 2026.
Yeah, I think it's hard when the situation around you isn't living up to your talent, because that makes your job 10 times harder, and it makes sometimes mistakes look like they're yours when they're not. And so I think he was probably just a victim of that last year, and why he probably doesn't get the praise that he wants. But that's great to hear. I love to see him staying hungry. He's going to be 29 this season, so at some point it's no longer just about playing the game, and it's about what legacy can you leave, what do you want to achieve before you kind of wrap up your career. And he probably sees this as the perfect opportunity. He can lead these guys, and he has been that anyway, but he'll continue to be that. And I think I really liked, because he was also talking about Jonas Savanaia, really praising him and saying he's getting comfortable, and says he thinks he's going to make that jump this year. And I think when you're speaking life into those people around you, which he clearly is, and believing in them, sometimes that just unlocks you. Now he's not a rookie anymore. He's probably going to feel a little bit bolder, a little bit braver. And I said it last week, but he's one of the things that has stayed the same about this team. And so them two kind of working together along with Caden Proctor, who's now a rookie, I think it could be great. I think you're right. I think this could be a really great unit this year.
Yeah. Just wanted to add real quick, but yeah, I mean the outlook on Savanaia, like I said, is really big, but they got to make sure that he stays that right guard position. And to his benefit, you literally were at rock bottom. You were literally the worst rated guard, so you cannot go anywhere but up. You can stay there, sure, but you cannot go anywhere else but up at this point. And so, to his credit, the Dolphins threw him in the proverbial fire. It's a very down year for the offense, a very down year for the team just in general. You're the starting left guard as a rookie, and not a lot of times that happens. For just any player. I don't care who they are. Yes, there's those first rounders that go in and they make an immediate impact, but it's not always the case. There's sometimes first rounders, second rounders that need a little bit extra time. When Jonas Savanaia, they're like, no, you're our starting left guard. Go for it. And so, again, that is the worst of what you had to deal with or could be. Now you can only get better. So, yeah.
No, yeah. I just love, obviously fans have expectations, the media has expectations. With many of these great players, our expectations definitely don't outweigh their own, right? They're always striving to be better. They're always striving for the next level to get there, right? And I love that Brewer is placing this upon his own shoulders in a way, especially after the massive contract that he signed, right? I mean, with that contract will come big expectations as well. And I like how he's just setting it out there. You know what? I have these goals. They might sound, maybe unreachable considering the expectations with the Dolphins and whatnot, right? But he is making it known, and with that, Billy, like you said, I kind of like how you said that, because yeah, he did put these goals on himself, but at the same time the expectations are not there, so it's gonna make it even harder for him to reach those goals, right? So I mean, the Brewer and the Dolphins, their offensive line will need to reach another level, or at least kind of exceed those expectations in order to be considered for maybe, I don't know about first team all pro, but maybe a Pro Bowler, right? Because it's just going to be that much tougher. But I love this. It shows where his mindset is at. It shows that he doesn't care about what other people are saying, nor should he. None of the Dolphins teams, Jeff Hafley, John Eric Sullivan, none of the players should care about what any of us are saying, really, because you still got to go out there and play football. I mean, you say this all the time, right? The NFL is a year-to-year, week-to-week type of league. You just never know what you're going to get. You never know. Many people are expecting the Dolphins to win 4 games. Maybe they'll win 6. Maybe they'll win 7. Maybe they'll surprise a lot of people. Maybe they will have the best offensive line, right? So, I mean, that's the beauty of the sport. That's the beauty of sports in general, right? It's very unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get. And I just love that Brewer has those expectations. He has that mindset because you're going to need that, right? Because you just don't know what's to come, and that's the beauty of it of a new year. I mean, everyone's hopes are high, and you have a chance to prove yourself in a way.
Yeah,
and I think having him at the center, like, and he's reaching those goals and he's pushing himself every week, that lifts everyone up around you. Like, everyone's like, oh, I want to follow that lead. So I think, it's probably good to see him like taking that next step up.
Yeah, and then especially because he's a leader. He's a leader in that locker room. He's going to be a leader on the team for the young players, defense and offense. It doesn't matter. Same thing with Jordan Brooks and what Jordan Brooks was talking about. He said you have to embody what it means to be on this team, embody what Jeff Hafley is talking about. They don't have that culture instilled yet. Like, as Jeff Hafley said, they're going to wait until training camp to really determine, like, who are they, what is their identity. But once that hits, you have players like Aaron Brewer who are taking on the responsibility to be like, this is how we're going to do this, and you guys are going to follow suit because this is how we win games. Because obviously everybody, regardless of all the media chatter and everything, it's not like the Dolphins want to go out there and lose games. Not that any team wants to, but especially for them, when all the chips are stacked against you and everyone believes you're going to be this terrible team in 2026, you can surprise people, but it really has to be everybody buying into that. But moving right along, mentioning Jordan Brooks was saying on the defense here. And my second concern, or rather my biggest concern for training camp, is that secondary. It's very concerning right now. As Jeff Hafley had spoke right before, right at the end of minicamp, he was asked about the cornerback situation. Storm Duck and Tyreel Baker Jr. are still dealing with injuries. He said he wishes that they were coming along a lot faster. And that's not something that you want to hear from a head coach, especially someone like Hafley, who is a secondary savant. He knows that position more than any other position. That's what he came up teaching and coaching and all that good stuff. And so my concern remains, and I think that the Dolphins should consider bringing back Rasul Douglas. I know Rasul Douglas goes against what the Dolphins are doing. They want to get cheaper. They want to get younger, which they've done for the most part throughout this offseason. But to your detriment, do you want to stick to your guns that much? That's the concern that I have, because the secondary, we've seen the secondary. When they're terrible, the defense is just not good, and like everything kind of falls apart. So as much as, like, I know you can say that about every unit for multiple reasons, but the secondary matters a great deal, because if you can't get your defense off the field, you're going to be in a tough spot, especially having the second worst schedule in the league this year, and all the quarterbacks that you have to play that are Josh Allen twice a year. You got Drake May twice a year. Those guys alone you have to deal with. But looking at the schedule and looking at all their opponents and the quarterbacks, like, you have to make sure the secondary is on point. And my thing is, like, yes, Douglas is going to be 32 years old, but he had a really good bounce back year. He had 2 interceptions. He had, like, I think it was like 1 or 2 sacks, 13 passes defended. He only posted like a 55% completion percentage and 73 passer rating to opposing quarterbacks. He gave up 3 touchdowns, but again, that could have been not exactly his fault. Could have been lineup issues and all that. But my point still remains. I know I brought this up before. I'm very passionate about this, but I think they need to really, really look at bringing back Rasul Douglas, because he is a leader in that locker room. He is a proven veteran. He had a really good bounce back year with the Dolphins. He knows the organization. Yes, it's a brand new coaching staff in there. It's a brand new defensive staff with Sean Duggan as defensive coordinator and Jeff Hafley in there, and everything's new. But regardless, he knows the organization. He knows the players. I just think they need to kind of stop beating around the bush, especially with, like, those injuries that Storm Duck and Tyreel Baker have, may be okay by the time training camp comes around, but maybe they won't be. And do you really want to run into a situation in 2025 when Jack Jones and Rasul Douglas had to be brought in because Artie Burns was hurt, Storm Duck was hurt, Kader Kohu was hurt. Their entire secondary went down with season-ending injuries. So it's maybe I'm jaded or concerned because of what happened previously, but I just think Douglas is that guy, the veteran, one of the lone veterans that you need to bring back.
Yeah, it's been confusing to me as to why he's not already, I mean, they maybe have had conversations behind closed doors, but like he crossed paths with John Eric Sullivan in Green Bay. I know Halfley wasn't there while Rasul Douglas was, I don't think. But like surely there's been some kind of at least conversation about it between Halfley and John Eric Sullivan about is this right? Because that is something you're going to have to address. They may have just been waiting until this point when they've got the money figured out, they've done mini camps, no tears, and then they're going to kind of have like a real look, and maybe they will go into training camp because like I said, maybe they have had those conversations with him. Maybe they have been like, hey, this is something we're looking at. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's been confusing for me just because I have that link between the two of them. So there must be some kind of open dialogue about that rejoining. But it's definitely something that they need to kind of figure out because, like you said, this like younger, cheaper situation is only good if you have good talent around, like good veteran talent around that younger group to bring them up, especially when you're not sure of an identity yet. I just think that that would probably be the right move for them to do.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you can never go wrong with having depth, no matter how great the position is already. Depth is just vital. You never know what's going to happen in this league. There's always injuries. You could just never take a chance, and I really don't see why they shouldn't take a chance with Rasul Douglas. Like you said, James, I mean, he knows the organization. Yeah, it is a new coaching staff, but he is a veteran guy who could learn it, rather quickly, especially with time to spare, right? I mean, I mean, I wouldn't see any point. I wouldn't see anything wrong with bringing Douglas back, especially if you still have these injuries or these lingering injuries, right? You just never want to take a chance on that. I mean, the secondary is already a concern, especially the cornerback position. So, I mean, I think adding a veteran would only help and not hurt the Dolphins, right? And like Billy said, you need those type of veterans to uplift the younger, inexperienced type of players to only get better, right? I mean, you just do. You need that. So I wouldn't see a problem with it. And we know that John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley are never been shy about adding players, right? So, I mean, like, why not? Go for it.
Yeah, definitely. Again, I'm with you, Billy. I don't understand why they haven't done it yet, or maybe they have discussed it behind closed doors and they're just not ready to. He hasn't been picked up by anybody yet. So, I mean, that's the silver lining of it. Maybe they're just kind of patiently waiting to see. A lot of times, too, like training camp is very evident. If you have a weak group, that will pop out very, very quickly. So they may be waiting to see what they have and what they don't have, or rather wait a little bit of time and see if Storm Duck and those other injuries have kind of like ironed themselves out. But I just think they need to bring him back. He played great in 2025, and he's that kind of veteran that can definitely help these players, start their careers in South Florida. But speaking of injuries and speaking of somebody that I know we've talked about before, but I'm going to bring him back up because why not? Because it's fun. He posted a recovery video that I thought was very fantastic. Maybe in his typical, I like to troll everybody type of way. Tyreek Hill seems to be healthy again. He suffered a really gnarly injury, a dislocated knee. He tore multiple ligaments, especially and including his ACL, which was week 4 of the 2025 season. So, they say that it usually takes about a year or so to recover from such an injury, but he's been posting workout videos, and he posted a collection of one that showed him with full movement. I mean, he's not running yet, at least not fully running it. That's not what that video showed, but he looks good. He looks good. He looks healthy. He looks to be in shape. And then at the end of the video, like I said, in typical Tyreek Hill troll fashion, we have his doctor saying, "Are you trying to do something this year?" Which we can assume means, "Are you trying to play this year?" And then the audio cuts out while he's talking. So take that as you will. But for me, I want to revisit this topic again because of going back to concerns about the wide receiver room. Would this be crazy for the Dolphins to bring him back? Bring him back on a 1-year deal, something in the 12 to 14 million-ish range with incentives. Maybe it's like a base 8 million, something like that, where, it's beneficial. I know there's no hard feelings. He understands it's a business. He was released because of his contract. And obviously his injury played a big part of that. But I mean, like, who's to say that he can't come back, with the Dolphins, they give him a 1-year deal and see what happens, especially because if those wide receivers are really not who they are, or rather they're not showing that they can be a good enough unit for Malik Willis's first year, why not bring Tyreek Hill back to be that wide receiver 1 for Malik Willis, who has the arm to really do some damage with Tyreek Hill?
Yeah. I know he's injured, but I don't believe for a single second that he's not had offers, which makes me beg the question, what is he holding out for? What is it? Does he not feel his body's ready? Does he want to protect himself? And actually, what's the situation? It just, obviously at that video, he seemed to be making a statement with it. He seemed to be saying, he said reborn, show the progress and determination. And then again, at the end, it was like, what's your plan? And that was kind of left unanswered. And maybe this is gearing up for absolutely nothing, but maybe it's gearing up for a Dolphins reunion. And I don't really see the harm in this, particularly if Tyreek really isn't interested in joining any other team, because like I said, I fully believe there have been teams, injury or not, being like, please, we could absolutely use you. And there are riskier bets than Tyreek Hill across the, we've seen people take even bigger swings this off season with less consistent talent. And so, maybe we'll be waiting another year before that reunion, but I don't know. It seems to me like he seems content and happy, but like we said before, he could be around the facility because of the doctors or because of whatever, but he seems very content and happy in Miami. So I don't see why he wouldn't consider staying there, whether it's this year or next year. I'm not sure just yet.
Yeah, although the Chiefs he's also been linked to going back to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I
don't see that really as a possibility. I think he does love Miami. I think he's waiting for that opportunity, whether he's had conversations with the new Dolphins brass or not. I think he's just waiting it out. I think he does want to be in Miami, and I think eventually maybe things will pan out for him to remain in Miami, to be with the Dolphins before the season starts. I think, the Dolphins would probably tell him, you know what, take as much time as you want. We're not trying to do anything this year anyway. They're probably not going to say that, but, that's just the reality of the situation. Rehab here, train here, and when you're ready to go, maybe it's week 8, maybe 9, 10, whatever the case may be, we'll love to have you back for the remainder of the season. I could completely see that happening. And although he is coming off the injury, although he is older, teams still need that veteran wide receiver. And I think the way he's going, he should certainly be ready sometime this season. So why wouldn't teams be going after them? Maybe he's the one rejecting them, right? Saying no, I'm good. I just want to rehab right now. I want to focus on this. I want to focus on that. But he just may be saying that just because he does want to go back to Miami. Again, this is all speculation, right? We don't know. But me personally, I would love to see him back in Miami. I would love to see him, kind of mentoring maybe like a guy like Tutu Atwell, who's also small as well. Maybe we'll never reach those type of heights that Tyreek Hill. Definitely not the heights that Tyreek Hill reached, but somewhere there, obviously have that, maybe that same build and whatnot. So maybe he could help him out somehow. Certainly help out the rest of the wide receivers as well. Certainly help out Malik Willis too, and the offense as a whole. So him coming back, I'm certainly a fan of that, and I would certainly love to see that too.
Yeah, I think that fits the narrative of why they've not, because there are some still good veteran wide receivers available.
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, Hopkins, Deebo Samuel's still around, I think. So for me, I just don't see why they wouldn't, because they really don't have that voice. If they really are just waiting and kind of seeing what they have and whatever. But for me, it feels like a reunion's kind of coming at some point, whether it's this year or next.
It's Tyreek Hill. Injury or not, it's still Tyreek Hill. The dude put up over 1,700 yards with Tua Tagovailoa, who, as we know, is a limited quarterback, and they still were magic together. And that's not to say that Malik Willis is just going to jump in there and be that much better, but Malik Willis has a kind of arm that would benefit a receiver like Tyreek Hill and vice versa. He can gun the ball downfield, and Tyreek wouldn't have to stop and turn around and make a play on it. He could just keep running, grab it, and then run it in for a touchdown. So I think you're right, buddy. I think if he were to come back, if it were a mid-season type of deal, that would be, especially if the Dolphins are a lot more competitive than people give them credit for. Say it's week 8 and the Dolphins are 4-3. You know what I mean? That would be huge. And then he's like, oh, hey, I can come in there and do some damage. I'm going to come back and play for the team. This is all speculation. We have no idea, but it would be a great story. Like you said, Billy, I think he's very happy in Miami just in general. And, I highly doubt that he hasn't gotten calls from a handful of teams already, especially the Chiefs. The Chiefs wanting him back, and obviously he could be waiting until he's fully recovered and be like, look, I don't know if I can play, so I'm not going to go and sign a contract if I can't be out there, kind of a deal. Or maybe you're right. Maybe he's like, I don't want to play for anybody else but Miami right now. So maybe they're going to be working something out behind the scenes. I don't know. But if Tyreek Hill were to come back in 2026 and be on the Dolphins, that would make that offense fantastic. And it would kind of cover up the holes of that wide receiver room right now. Again, not that we know what they will or won't be, but there's some concerns there. And having Tyreek Hill in the building, just in the building alone, mentoring those wide receivers alone, that's worth more than its weight in gold. So we'll see. Again, we don't know. This is just speculation, but thank you guys so much for listening. This has been Roundtable Dolphins episode number 25, I believe I said it was. 25, yeah. And again, do all the social media stuff, like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff, please. Go join the official Dolphins Roundtable site. It's free to create an account. Thank you guys so much. We will be back next week to talk more training camp stuff, because that's all we get to do until training camp happens.